Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Mind of Stein. And we have an incredible guest. Now, this guy is an award-winning whistleblower. That's right. I was with him at Mar-a-Lago. We're not trying to brag or anything. Where this man won an award for, risking his job, losing his job, and $96,000 he was offered to shut his mouth and not basically expose this DEI scam. And not only is this guy a very true man of integrity, he's also an analog astronaut space nerd, so we're about to press him about the moon landing and all the space conspiracies. So you guys in the chat, send some super chats. You're talking to an analog astronaut. I just found out he's basically a real astronaut. So with all that being said, Rick, welcome on Mind of Stein. Thank you for joining us, Rick.
Thank you, Alex. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, man. You're a rock star, and it's an honor.
No. You are a real rock star. I mean, your resume is insane. So tell us a little bit about your teaching background and kind of what you did and how they try to expose you or I guess keep quiet for not exposing them. Excuse me.
Yeah, it's a great question. So basically what I'm about to tell you is worth at least $96,000 because that's what they tried to buy me off so that I wouldn't tell you. And I told them to pound sand and eat a bag of dictionaries. So, so I've been in academia for 25 years. I'm a PhD in neuroscience, a tenured professor of psychology, biomedical engineering at Florida Tech. I've been a professor at University of Texas at Dallas, right around the corner there by you, I suppose.
Yeah.
Did that. I was there for about 5 years. I was the California State University in San Bernardino. Did some work with NASA, Johnson Space Center, a couple other centers and missions, and then ended up over here at Florida Tech, right south of Kennedy Space Center, where I was a tenured professor. And so I've been teaching for at least since 2014, but I was a high school teacher and wrestling coach in Jersey, and I've been teaching my whole life. I'm oldest of 7, passionate, love teaching, love sharing knowledge, learning from other people. I love being the dumbest guy in the room. And
shut up, Rick. Shut your damn mouth. You're not the dumbest. You're in neuroscience, and you were recruited. I want to get into the NASA stuff a little bit in a second, but I think that is important to your background, though, because you're a neuroscience nerd and the fact that you're so genius. Is that how you got recruited by NASA and became an analog astronaut? And I want to get into that deeper, but how did you get recruited? Because you're so smart. I mean, obviously, if you're doing wrestling, you had a good, resume. You're doing team sports, but dude, obviously they want a physical guy that's a nerd. So you were a really genius guy. Is that how you got recruited to NASA, I'm guessing?
Kinda. I don't like saying it that way. The truth of the matter is that, so I did the Human Exploration Research Analog, which is at NASA Johnson Space Center. It's basically what they use to model the movie The Martian off of. It's a space capsule you basically live on the ground on. But when I applied for that, I had been fresh out of the astronaut selection cycle.
Wait, time out. I was just telling you this story before you described it. So you lived in that thing, because when I went on a tour of Johnson Space Center, they pointed to a building and they're like, there's astronauts living in there. And it's like exactly how it would be on Mars. I mean, every single thing. And they said some of the astronauts spook out in there. They go in there and the conditions mess with them. So you were in that capsule that I drove by, theoretically, or that was a capsule you were in?
I was in there, in 2017. I was in the mission that was hit directly from Hurricane Harvey and was underwater and everything. So that was kind of a wild mission in its own respect. But yeah, I mean, so if you think about it, there's a show that I think Jared Isaacson had done with Sean Ryan a month or two ago, where he talked about, the human being the rate limiting step to get to Mars and surviving a 2.5-year trip to Mars round trip. We have the engineering down, but it's like, how do you survive yourself? How do you survive your teammates, your capsule? That's what we don't know. And I was the only psychologist in history, to my knowledge at this point, that actually did NASA's largest psychology study there at Johnson Space Center from the inside. A lot of nerds are doing it from the outside, running the science experiments, which I've done also as a principal investigator. But I'm the only one who kind of ended up there. And this is the answer to your question, on accident. So I had been a finalist for the space program for real space the year prior, where it was me and Johnny Kim and Frank Rubio. Johnny's coming back from space, I think. Right,
Johnny Kim, the guy that's been like a surgeon, a doctor, a lawyer, everything. Yeah.
So when you talk about geniuses, that's why I demur. I'm like, dude, I was like the odd man out between him and Frank Rubio. We were the 3 people in biological sciences the first week of selection out of 18,300.
Yeah, but real quick, I have to cut you off. I mean, it's not like NASA doesn't have the budget. Why not all 3 of you guys get the gig? I mean, come on. I know only a certain amount of people can go into space, but come on. I mean, you think like God forbid something happens to Johnny, something happens to one of you guys, why wouldn't you want to have three of the most talented and like they could afford to pay you? That seems like they're being too selective.
Maybe, but what I would say is I know the guy that year. I think they picked 12. I know the guy who was 13th on that list. He's one of my best friends now, and the guy above him was the first person in 50 years to leave the program during training. So it's
shut up. So you're telling me the first time in 50 years one guy was going through the training, it was too hard and he quit?
Yeah, I mean, you can find it's on the internet. What was his name? Coolin, I think was his last name.
Oh wow.
Like, yeah, the guy, one of the guys I met in training in selection for that he's been one of my best friends for all the years since then. And I mean, this guy's a veritable badass. Like I said, the point is I wasn't fit to like wash their sandals. I was definitely the odd man out and I was happy to be. It was an honor. And so when I applied to that, then I got kind of moved from missing the mark on the real space program. They opened up this opportunity at the Hera mission, which is on Johnson Space Center there. It's basically say, we want you to act like an astronaut, be like an astronaut, be astronaut-like selection qualities. Did the whole selection, psych eval, physical eval. You kind of scared me with the finger pointing at the beginning of this because they did a whole lot of that to us.
Oh, they did know. Well, and that's what happens with the space is such an important topic to people. And this is the thing. Sorry, I do. And you're a PhD doctor. Excuse me. I mean, no disrespect, but space is for some reason, people get more passionate about space and stars than anything else. You know what I mean? It's people like, I love it. I'm one of those people that loves it. So when I went and took that tour of Johnson Space Center, when I saw the building, and I guess I forgot that they didn't describe it as analog astronauts, or maybe they did. I'm an idiot. I don't comprehend anything I hear or read. But the building looked big, but it didn't look that big. I mean, it looked like the size of, maybe a small mansion. Like, it didn't look, you know what I mean? It didn't look like the size of a football field or something. So how big were the conditions on the fake Mars?
It's about 600 square feet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So not huge at all.
No, not at all. I mean, it's tiny. So it's 45-day mission with, 3 people you make friends with for about 2 weeks beforehand. And then you're in, and you can't, yeah, that you got to make the best of it. You got to be a good teammate.
Do you go out of the fake capsule, as they would say, and do any Mars walks? No, so you stay in the capsule the whole time.
No,
you're transitioning to Mars. So
what we do for that side is a lot of virtual reality. So we do 2 to 3 hour virtual reality spacewalks, landing on asteroids, maintenance, cleaning the solar panels,
whatever,
lunar lander simulation. So it's virtual reality, but if you've ever really been in an immersive environment like that, so I'm a commercial multi-engine pilot, scientific research diver before all this. When I'd come out from like 2.5 hours under the VR goggles, like I was cooked. Felt like I had done an actual flight for 2.5 hours. I was sweating. I was mentally tired. I was physically tired. And you're doing that every single day. We were a sleep deprivation mission. So we weren't sleeping the whole time.
Were you in a suit? Did you have to be in a big fake suit, or
you could wear other stuff? They gave us suits. It's funny. So I'm in my garage here because I got fired for telling the truth. So, but I got my kids' stuff around here. I had it out here for them. This is our suit as it happens. I wasn't really planning that, but like this is our.
That's sick. That's official. So you wait real quick. Sorry, I keep cutting you off. But the mission was 45 days. You were on the analog ship.
That was the mission, although I didn't serve the entire time because we had an emergency abort because we took a direct hit from Hurricane Harvey that year in 2017, which we didn't even really know was coming in. One day we're just like, missions abort now, get out in 10 minutes. We're underwater. There's alligators in the water. Like it was wild down there in Houston because it was a tragedy. People were really, were facing serious stuff. And so yeah, that was our thing. And one of the things that I'll say, because you asked me about being a teacher, is this was my mission patch here. But this one here, I wear on here, I'm the only teacher, as it turns out, to have my student that I trained to be selected for the mission too. So Anderson Wilder is a PhD student in ISI at Florida Tech. He was like one of my absolute stars and studs. He was selected for these missions too. And so we're the only pair to have done that. And it's really like kind of like a academic dad source of pride because it's very rare. And, so like we have these patches and stuff, but it means a lot. And so that's our commitment to teaching and to students and to taking that legacy forward, because I never should have been on that mission is the other answer to your question. How did I end up there? I sent my resume over, I get a call, and I had been getting a lot of calls from Johnson at that time because we had been doing the whole, space program and astronaut side. So I see this area code. I'm like, what do these guys want now? And she's like, I'm calling from the Hera mission, and I want to let you know you have one of the best resumes we've ever seen, and there's absolutely no way you will ever do this mission. And I said, okay, what seems to be the problem, man? And she's like, well, this is a scientific research mission. We're studying human psychology, the brain, the mind, behavior, and that's pretty much exactly what you do professionally. And you're going to know too much about the experiments, too much about the manipulations, the studies, and what we're doing. And so you won't be like that naive of a test subject. I was like, ma'am, there might be some miscommunication here. I'm not half as smart as my resume seems. You can call and ask any of my wrestling buddies. I'll tell you I'm dumber than a bag of hammers.
Well, time out, Rick. That's not a good way to sell yourself. No, you know what the real deal is? Can we be real? Can we be real? Because you might not even know this, Rick, because you're such a smart guy. But I feel like you might know this. You know the reason why you were not chosen to go on that mission is because you're not a 33rd degree Freemason. Unless you are. Are you in the Freemasonry?
No, I happen not to have. I missed
See,
that one.
that's if you would have been a 33rd degree, they would have had to have chosen you. All the 3 people that landed on the moon, all Freemasons. That was your first mistake. So, I think there's still time to join. Could you still be eligible to go on future space missions now that Elon's going like every week?
Yeah, although I mean technically yes. Although I think that with this this story that went viral with O'Keefe, I think it's kind of a political hot button that I'm not sure that they have the cojones to stand strong institutionally and pick me up. But I think that's one of the travesties. That's a shame because that should be.
So you're telling me because you blew the whistle, though, you think all future NASA stuff is just done? Dude,
it's hard to say. I mean, it depends on kind of where the conversation wants to go. But in the respect of historically, they like selecting officers in the military. You want to be risk averse. You want these vanilla ice cream cones. And at this point, when you've got a picture of me getting an award at Trump's Mar-a-Lago by James O'Keefe and Alex Stein.
You don't want to be associated with me. No, they're definitely that. They're going to be like, oh, Alex Stein, I think he's a moon landing denier. You're toast. Wait, okay, no, real quick. I'll get into the James O'Keefe Award. So explain how the $96,000 to shut up. Because I'm guessing that because you've dedicated your life to teaching that, you're probably obviously financially okay, but you're probably not rich. You know what I mean? I'm sure that's a ton of money. So
no. I wouldn't be so sure about that. So we're basically like living paycheck to paycheck. I have a fundraiser
like a lot of teachers
right now. Yeah. So I've done 25 years of essentially like service through science. I was on a National Research Service Award, multi-time NIH award winner, but that's because it's kind of the civilian science version of the military in the respect of you're there not making money, but on a fellowship doing science on behalf of service to the nation and discovery of, improvements of human health, those kind of things that we were doing. And I was making world, level discoveries about new kinds of human memory, brain waves that predict memory before they happen, ways to improve clinical amnesia, those kind of things. And so we weren't making money, but we were doing that on behalf of our funding for the nation. So, and I was tenured, by the way, too. So we're
tenured at UTD. You were tenured?
No, I was tenured here at Florida Tech. So when they fired me at Florida Tech, I was fired with tenure, with no notice, no hearing, no due process. And I've
wait real quick. If you hopped around all these schools and I'm an idiot, how did you get tenure at Florida Tech, or was that the place you got?
That's where I got tenured at Florida Tech.
Okay.
I started off I got my PhD at UC Davis, did a 3-year postdoc at UT Dallas, taught for 2 years as essentially a full-time adjunct at Dallas, then got a tenure track at Cal State, did the NASA missions, popped up here to Florida Tech, got tenure 4 years early, pissed a lot of really low bottom barrel piece of garbage professors off because they were jealous that they couldn't do it in the same 2 years that I did. But that kind of is the way that it goes. But, and just to end out that earlier part about the NASA mission, because it'll come back to it's part of the conversation, which is that I wasn't picked up for that mission. They brought me on as a backup, and like Apollo 13, they had the main crew member had to be replaced about 3-4 days beforehand. So I got put in the mission kind of reluctantly because I was supposed to have known too much. And it was true. Like I did understand the science more, but because of that, I was able to give like essential feedback of an actual expert level feedback that had otherwise not been delivered. So after that, like they brought me back to give talks now for the years afterwards, kind of beta testing and giving them full debriefs. And while that may have shut off certain pathways that people, might assume might not be, consistent with sort of the fearful, risk-averse pathway to an astronaut, I'm going to put Elon on the spot right now on your show and say, Elon, you can do the best thing in the world to make the biggest DEI billboard in history is put me on one of those SpaceX launches, save me a seat, send me up there, and we're going to tell the world that stuff is over, and we're going on merit, we're going on capabilities, and that's how we're going to get to Mars. We're not going to get up there by social engineering, and because that's what I was fired for blowing the whistle on, Alex. Bringing it right back.
Well, real quick, if Katy Perry can go up there first class, then Rick Addante deserves to go. Neuroscientist extraordinaire, tenured professor at Florida Tech, more than deserves to go on the next, star show.
I mean, I promise you this much: if I go up there, I won't be coming back as an astronaut, as they said. We're not going up there to pat our butts. Your big booties notwithstanding.
You can pat it a little bit. You can pat it a little bit because I saw, that's the only reason that they say that, what is it? Justin Trudeau, the only reason that Justin Trudeau is okay with dating Katy Perry as a pop star is because she's also an astronaut. So it evens out or whatever. So, I mean, and I get that. I can kind of understand that math. And listen, we can tease going to space, but going up there, you're a pilot. I'm sure you've flown really high in the sky. It's probably really freaking scary. Like, that's the one thing I think these pilots and astronauts that act like, oh, it's no big deal. I bet it's scary as shit being in the International Space Station.
Oh, I'm sure it absolutely must be. I mean, there was times even just in our simulations, we had for the data to be real, we had to get in mental mode, like of really buying in to character, and there were scary parts of that too. Like, so one of the things I heard from some of the astronauts that I've had a chance to get to know, though, is that like they wouldn't want to go to space with somebody who's not scared, because you have to understand what it is that you're working with, and fear is a healthy thing. And if you're going up there completely cavalier, not understanding what it is to be terrified about, or without children or family or loved ones to come home to make it worthwhile, then you're not going to be taking the properly calculated risks. And that's not what we want. You want a healthy balance of fear, and you want the ability to come over it, because like that's going to happen on mission. There's going to be things that happen either interpersonally that requires courage, or technically that requires courage, or operationally that requires courage. And that can't be the first time that you like sort of dance with the devil on your back of depression, of anxiety, of fear, of exhaustion. You have to be able to wrestle with those things through experience down here on Earth. And that's kind of what this story is that led me to meet up with you guys at Mar-a-Lago and doing all that, because I was tenured. We didn't have much money. We were living essentially just scraping by, but because tenure is a job for life, it's like we didn't have a whole lot saved up, because you kind of had an indefinite contract.
Got a good gig. Yeah, you got a contract gig. Yeah.
And I was making $96,000, which a lot of people, some of my buddies have laughed at me because they're like, you got a PhD in neuroscience, you've done all this stuff. They're like, do better. And
I know that does seem low, but that's $8,000 a month. Like, there was a time where $96,000 was more than enough to live, and now it's like that's barely scraping by.
When I was in Dallas,
in the year 2000, I'm saying the year 2000, the year 2005, like 90. That was last year. Before 2008, if you made $96,000 before 2008, you're doing good. Then after that,
but like they're used to paying people low, but like it's kind of part of the thing. If you're gonna try to terrify me by like telling me I'm going to lose my job for being honest and telling the truth, but that's all you're paying people. It's like, what do you got to lose? Like you can treat people well and pay them poorly, or you can pay them well and treat them poorly, but you can't treat them poorly and pay them poorly.
Which is what teachers have to deal with, and professors. I mean, so what happened? How did you expose them?
Well, I exposed them because they were defrauding you and all American and Floridian taxpayers for over $76 million. And they were bragging about it. And they asked us to join a conspiracy to defraud both DeSantis and Trump administrations, who had put in recent orders to stop discriminating against people through the atrocities of DEI, which is codification of discrimination against our brothers, our sisters, our community members, based on completely immutable factors that are outside of control. Like your melanin or your hair color or something. Like, it's nonsense. And it's illegal, according to the Supreme Court, Department of Justice, Office of Civil Rights, right? So there was all of that happening at the beginning of this year, as I'm sure you remember, with the new administration.
Of course, it was the biggest deal ever. Yes, yeah, no, everybody remembers it.
Yeah, and so I was on family leave because I had a baby when this happened. My wife was postpartum. Like, we were jacked up, and I was on leave. And the first meeting I come back to, they're like, yeah, so our president met with Ron DeSantis for a $7 million grant, and he's going to make him get rid of our DEI, but he's not going to do it. He's just going to lie about it and just take it down off the website and pretend to comply, but he wants you to do it. Anyway.
And you recorded this. And you recorded this, right?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. They recorded it. because they.
Well, how did you get the? Because wasn't you having that leaked recording as well?
Yeah, but that one comes next. That one comes next. I'm telling you how wildly retarded they are.
Yeah.
Like really retarded dumb. Though too. Like they're very dumb about this. Because if you're gonna do crimes, you don't go tell everybody you're gonna do it.
No shit.
So when I say they recorded, this is like a standard like boardroom meeting. So they have like Robert's rules. They keep minutes. They logged all this in the meeting. I said, well, you know, by the way, these professors are crying because they're not allowed to keep their DEI and critical race theory on their websites. They're crying and breaking down. And I had been out of classes. I had been on leave, so I'm looking around like these people are crying.
Well, how much money? I mean, it's $7 million. Does that mean all of their funding is going to go away? I mean,
that's exactly what.
Yeah, like how much directly are they affected by it?
So what happened? There's a series of like serendipitous events in this story, which is that our university president, old Johnny Nicolo, lying piece of crap, he met with DeSantis for a $7 million proposal, which in the big picture is like chump change in like government spending, $7 million. Yeah. But he had this particular grant, and he said, and the governor shook him down and said, "Why are you guys so woke?" So we were told this in March of this current year, 2025, at this meeting that they're crying at, and they're like, and I said, "Well, why doesn't he just write the policy down that he wants us to do and follow?" And they said, and we know they said this because it's in the meeting minutes. They said, well, he doesn't want to write it down because he doesn't want to be used as evidence against him in court. But he'll come and talk to you in person and tell you this. And that's when the meeting got videotaped the next month, because they told us, A, that there was essentially a conspiracy to defraud in place, and B, that he was going to come and tell us about it, because he didn't want to put it down. So what does that do? I'm a candidate for the astronaut program. I was, the application cycle was still active. And I'm like, I'm going to have to get security clearances, this and that. Like, what am I going to be, a party to fraud? Like, this is a weird ethical situation, putting DEI aside, which has its own issues. But like for anything like that, misappropriation of funds, whatever, like I don't need that dirty juju on me because I have a conscience. And you know, like, so
you're like, I don't want to be a tenured professor at this school that's going to get caught in some sort of, fraudulent deal, and that's going to reflect negatively on you. So you're put in this tough spot. You're like, should I blow the whistle or not? So how much did you debate, like, whether or not you were going to say something? Because I'm sure you did have that internal discussion where you're like, maybe I'll just go with the flow.
I never really thought about going with the flow because I knew what the right thing was to do. And like I alluded to earlier, there were moments of fear. You do have that internal discussion. This happened to be right before Easter during Lent. I'm Catholic, and I was like really like impressed upon with like the testimony, the martyrs, and the passion that was just coinciding at that time. And I was like scared to speak up and point this out because I knew what was at risk. But then I felt like a giant pussy when compared to those examples. I'm like the saint, the kid, Saint Joselito from Mexico, like he was marched to his grave at the Cristianos, and he was saying "Viva Cristo Rey" while they're murdering him. Christ himself, this is all happening kind of like together, and it made me realize like these people would be ashamed of me. They had real courage, and here I am asking for the courage to simply tell the truth and not get my head chopped off or crucified.
You know what I would say though, Rick? Gosh, and I hate to be like this because now you said such a beautiful thing. Comparison is the thief of joy, and I think that goes when you're comparing yourself to people that are doing worse than you and better than you, because shouldn't you, and I'm just playing devil's advocate, shouldn't that give you some sort of gratitude that you're not going through that? And you know what I mean? So maybe I shouldn't tell, maybe because I'm not going to die for this, I'm just playing devil's advocate. No. You didn't think about it like that at all. You know what I mean? Like maybe my life's not as bad as in, so maybe I got something to lose and I need to, and I'm not trying to make it sound bad, but I'm just surprised you were so willing to go the hard route. A lot of people, I think most people wouldn't.
I mean, I suppose, most people didn't for sure, statistically, but no, the answer is that thought never went through my mind. Like I instead had the thought, like I said, like I was inspired by what I've seen people suffering worse from, but still not being cowed into that fear. And I was just inspired by the scriptures: be strong and courageous. Don't be afraid. Put on the armor of God. And I remember talking with my wife and we're full send. Like, we do want to give the right examples to our children. Like, we got to feed their mouths, but we also need to feed their souls. And they need to know that in the face of these situations ethically, because they'll face them, and I'll face them. We'll face them later in life too. Or that's not going to end. I wanted them to know that, you know, we don't cuck, that there are more important things in life than money, than jobs, this and that. Like, we don't cuck. Like, that's not right, man. And so you did the right thing. And that's what we did. So I went to this meeting, and the president sits us down. You can see it on there. I think I put it on top of my Twitter feed at Rick Addante earlier before the show starts, so people can grab it. I put a little 10-minute compilation on. The president comes in. He tells us, hey, so I met with Ron DeSantis. He basically shook me down, said, why are you so woke? So he says, strip all these words off the website. Stop doing DEI. And he's like, I drove home and I said, why don't we fight back? And so he wait,
time out. Wait, why did I hear that wrong? So he walked in after talking to DeSantis and said, take all the DEI stuff. So I guess you knew that he was lying about that direction. I'm confused because it sounds like he followed the order.
No. So, I mean, he said, I don't want to get caught doing DEI.
I see. Just take it off the website. We're still going to do it. I see.
Yeah. So I
got the impression he said, take it off the website. DeSantis won. I got shaken down.
Oh, no. He was
said,
pissed.
we got shaken down. Just take it off the website.
Yeah. He has a very fragile ego, and he was mad that Ron shook him down. And so he's like, we're going to have to take it off the website, but all they're looking for are words. He says they're not smart people. They're just scraping with AI. They're just looking for words, so we can dodge them. He said, we'll stay under the radar so we don't get caught. And this goes to your other question. It's only $7 million. And he actually says, I don't care. We can lose the $7 million. If we lose the $7 million, he's like, we'll deal with it. But the problem is, if we get caught violating for the $7 million, then he's like, there's a whole lot more to lose. And that's $69 million in Title IV funds from the Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, and the Trump administration, from grants from the National Science Foundation, NASA, NIH, all the federal agencies. Like, at least $69 million federally just from Title IV at the Federal Department of Education. So probably over $100 million in grants every year, annually. He's like, that's what I don't want to get caught. So he says, we're going to do what we do. That is DEI. Let's not put a target on our back, and let's just not tell the truth. We're going to tell them, and this is what happens. So people don't understand this. Like,
but real quick, Rick, I got to ask another question, because you're a neuroscientist and you're so smart. If a university like Florida Tech gets $100 million in grant, let's be conservative. Let's say they get $30 million in grants, and the kids still pay, and this is a year, and the kids still pay tuition. And then I'm guessing, what is the student body? 10,000 to Florida Tech? How many kids go to Florida Tech?
Probably somewhere around there.
Yeah. So, I mean, the math, shouldn't college be free, right? I mean, how does that, how is that math? 10,000 students, what is 10,000 times 100,000?
It's a lot.
100 million?
And they're still running nearly broke and robbing Peter to feed Paul. Like, they have a lot of budgetary problems. And I'll tell you, the students are basically paying the prices of Harvard. And I promise you, they're not getting a Harvard education. They're getting sold out by probably some of the worst professors I've ever seen in my life that I had to work with. Were really bottom barrelers. They had a big brain drain. And this is like a bigger issue in academia that academics have been saying for a long time. For about 15 years, there's been a brain drain. All the good people have left, with a few exceptions, right? Like anything. Some of us stayed for different reasons. I was in the running for the space program. I was going to not switch horses midstream. I had stuff going on with my grants and trajectories that, like, I was thinking about joining, the Navy or this or that at earlier points, but it's like, I'd be in the back of the line for the space program. So there are some people who have their reasons for staying, but by and large, the people left, both administration and faculty, they're bottom to mids, and they're not great. But yep, kids are paying like it's Harvard. And you're right, that money, like, it's a black hole. And this is what got me. Like, the DEI has its own fraud and issues ethically as well. But at the end of the day, this is still just like fraud of any sort of reason for our tax dollars and your tax dollars. And they're telling us we are going to do it. Don't get caught. We don't want to get caught. We know we'll be guilty. And by the way, then they started laughing. He said, so when we have our class called DEI 101, imagine, and they're like, no, we do have that class. And they all start laughing because they know that you'll never find out and you're never going to stop them. And guess what? They've been right. Like, DeSantis hasn't taken the money back. The Trump administration hasn't taken the money back. And so they are laughing because they know that they've lived an entire lifetime and career of being unaccountable, because what the universities do when they take all this federal money, Alex, is they self-certify to the government, to the Pentagon, who pays for ROTC, for DARPA, for GI Bill tuition. They self-certify and say, we're following your rules, and nobody ever checks, nobody ever bothers, and it's a giant fucking racket. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it.
You know it's a racket too when college loans are the only loan that you can't, file for bankruptcy from. It's just that's like that. How did they get the one carve out and not all these other corporations and companies?
It's garbage. And so that's what we did. So this is James's thing here. That's the thing he gave us. Go the give us a show you this. It's a that's the
whistle. I love the golden whistle. That's awesome. Yeah. Wait, real quick. Tell us about you're a pilot too. How did you have time to be a pilot in the military?
I fought the Civil Air Patrol a little bit on the side, just an Air Force auxiliary, but for the most part, I did my training civilian in graduate school.
Just in school, you just were like, hey, I'm going to go become because I know that with astronauts, obviously that's like, I know now they've gotten way lackadaisical, but it used to be only astronauts were recruited. Astronauts were only, you had to be a pilot to be recruited to be an astronaut.
Yeah. Do you know why?
Well, I'm guessing you're flying a spacecraft.
Well, it was experimental flights, so they needed test flights and people with a test flight engineering background. So they took them from Edwards Air Force Base, where they were test flight pilots in the Mercury 7, because they were actually testing out things to give good beta feedback. But we got to get to Mars. We got to do these missions, and they're not putting people with an understanding of human psychology and neuroscience in to give the same beta testing feedback. That's why, by serendipity, I was accidentally the only guy in there. And so now
Rick, I have to catch you up again. You know how if you really were going to do it, and we do it exactly like how they do it in the space movies. If you really are going to go on a 2.5 year mission or whatever, I think you would have to be sedated. I think they would have to sedate you where you take like a pill and you wake up there. I mean, because I think you would go crazy if you're just on a plane ride for because the military, they have this where they make them stay on a plane and refuel for a long time, or you stay in a submarine for, I think, months, but 2.5 years on a plane in space, basically, I think that would get very mentally grueling.
Well, and they were talking about social engineering the crew.
What does that mean, social engineering the crew? Like, so that they're like can make a family when they get there?
Picking people in the same ways that people have been picked the last 15
so
years.
Like a reality show, you got to have a black one, you got to have a gay one, you got to have a white one, you got to have a white hot girl, you got to have a white ugly girl. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's like that.
Well, what they want to say is that in theory that it's a crew that's representative and looks like the rest of society's proportions, but that's part of the big problem. So like there's a really commonly cited line of research that you'll hear about that says like diverse teams do better, but it's unreplicatable. People have tried to replicate that study that came from a McKinsey.
Yeah, no, that would go against it. You would want them to be more alike, not diverse. That wouldn't bring a team together.
And to be a little bit nerdy about it, I always like put a professor hat and say on that the sentence itself is not complete. It's half a sentence. Diverse of what? Like diverse of like redheads, brunettes. Like that's not diversity.
Maybe like tall and short, maybe, but I mean everything else.
No, but you don't want that either. Like that's not going to.
Yeah, you don't really want that either. No, but I'm just saying maybe you could say that's okay because they can still get to. Maybe
what you want is people who are different enough to where they complement each other in terms of their perspectives, their styles, their personalities. You don't just put 4 stallions in a pen and lock them up. You want people with good balances, but that's not social engineering. That's not the way that people have applied this. And that's where I think a lot of big trouble was going to be coming from. So I hope that they change paths on that. And that's one of the reasons I say, Elon, you can do the best thing in the world for DEI and set me on a rocket out of this world, and we'll have the biggest billboard on the planet to say that merit.
Shut up! But you would wait. Would you go on a rocket to Mars?
Well, right now they're not going, but if he could send me on an orbital or lunar flight, I'd absolutely take that.
I know that would be cool, but you would go on a 2.5 year mission to Mars? No, and your family, you'd never see your family again. How do you know how you're going to come back?
That's a good question, and to be perfectly frank, I'm not sure that I would do the Mars mission yet. I'm not sure that I wouldn't either. But because people ask me this kind of stuff a lot. What I tell them is that I would like to know more information. I'd like to see the engineering for the radiation protections. I'd like to see the plan for life sustaining functions, for life support systems, and the return engineering flights that we haven't yet been able to engineer rockets launching and coming back home. And then I'd like to know our plan for crew survival amongst ourselves and who's it going to be. And I've done these missions now, confinement and isolation, a couple different missions now. And the crew composition really matters. So it really is about having the right teamwork, of that right balance, and dare I say diversity of people's styles, but not in, colors, height, weight, like that kind of like nonsensical, like earth-based garbage. That's not what's going to happen. That's to succeed. We need the things that unite us to overcome our differences. The ways that we're the same are what's going to get over our natural human differences that we're going to face along the way. So I'd lean to know a little bit more information about that trip, and then talk with my family about it, because it's similar to this whistleblowing thing. Like I told James on the show that we do have an obligation as parents and fathers to feed our children and put food in their bellies, but we have an equal, if not greater, obligation to feed their souls by example and leadership and inspiration of what the right path is. And I think in the same token, to your question about going to Mars, we as men and fathers also have a really important obligation to lead our children by example of courage into the abyss, courage into whatever that is, by our duty. So in some respects, there's a healthy fear I would have of going on a trip like that and not seeing my family or kids grow up or at all ever again. And that is a serious consideration that I would have to weigh very carefully against, I need to show my sons to have courage and to go live their life and do their duty. And I'd have to pray about it and discern about it. Is that my duty to go put those boots there, if that's the case? And it may be, but I think that's a bigger question that right now I'm talking to you in my garage on unemployment, begging people on a go, give, send, go. That
everybody needs to go. We're going to put the link in. Everybody needs to go support. Please go support Rick. He's too smart to have a give, send, go, but go support him. He got canceled unfairly.
I mean, would you go? Would you go to Mars?
Not a chance in hell. If I had a chance to go to the International Space Station, maybe, but I feel like they would kill me, because let's just be real. When you were doing the NASA space thing, did they bring you in the room and be like, hey, the Earth's really flat, Rick, and all this is fake? Come on, they did that, didn't they? That's what we really want to hear. Did they not do that? Was that not part of the training?
That was the first part of the training.
That's what I'm seeing. See, you're an analog astronaut. That's what you do. You have to joke to the effect, but Well, okay, but on a serious note, though, when it comes to NASA, I do think that, like, I know you love them; they're so trustworthy and stuff. But I think, and we're talking about Mars, and this is my honest opinion, and I'm just playing devil's advocate again because Rick, you are such a good guy, and you are a true patriot, and you believe in God, and you seem like such a good father and such a good guy. We're talking about Mars, but we got all these damn families out here starving, and we got damn drug boats getting blown up. We got damn world wars in Israel and Palestine and Ukraine and this and that. Why are we so damn worried about Mars? You know what I mean? When we got all this drama and crap to worry about here. That's kind of my honest opinion sometimes when I think about it.
I mean, I think it's a valid opinion. I think that it's one that's worth, putting good weight and measure in, but I think it has to be weighted and measured against, the other side of that. So one of the reasons that the Apollo program was tanked after we went to the moon is for that. There was a lot of issues. We'll get that.
I'll let you have it because I respect you so much and you're a doctor, but I think they faked that thing with they're on the buggy. One of my good buddies, Jaron, though, was this guy who's a big moon landing denier. Then he went to Antarctica and he proved that the Earth was round. And now he's a big moon landing believer. He believes they landed on it. But this is where I have one trouble with the moon landing stuff. Forget about, I do agree that it probably would have been almost as hard to fake it than it would to do it because they would have got probably exposed. But I also think doing it would have been really hard with that technology. But this is my one, there's two. These are my two kind of things that really are hard for me to justify. And I want to get your opinion. 1969 moon mission. Well, really, there's three things, and I'll be real quick about it. One, there was a rock that they gave to the prime minister of the Netherlands, and then they did a test. They found out it was petrified wood. And I'm sure that could get lost in the shuffle, but that is whatever. Then number two, the astronauts, after they did it, the greatest mission of all time, they look like their damn dog got ran over. You know what I mean? They looked a little sad, and we don't have to get into the video, but they just look sad, and that kind of makes you be like, that's kind of weird. And then, the fact that Werner von Braun, who created the Nazi program, the guy that designed all the rockets that, were shot into Poland, he was the architect of our Apollo program. The guy was a genius, but he was an actual Nazi, and they call everybody a Nazi today when he actually was one. And this is my last one. This is my last thing where I'm like, I have trouble. If you are a moon landing expert like myself, and I can see how people believe it's real, and I don't know. That's what I say. I say I don't know. But when Gus Grissom died, his last words he said, it's like, we can't talk. How are we going to go to the moon if we can't talk between two buildings? That's weird.
Yeah, I mean, so I hear you, and so what I would say is I haven't been to the moon, and I as a scientist, you know, I like to I hate when scientists like put their ass hats on and start talking outside of their lane about things that are not their expertise, but yet they're hijacking their expertise they have in one domain and then they misappropriate it to another. People like Sam Harris and other, you know, pieces of garbage like that like it never rubs me right. So as a scientist, I'd say that, you know, I haven't been to the moon, so I can't say with any certainty, like I haven't seen that data, but you know, I'm a neuroscientist. I'm not a planetary astrophysicist, so I wouldn't have access to that. But so just kind of putting that disclaimer aside, that I find it compelling. Like I'm reasonably convinced that we landed there. I also think NASA hasn't done themselves any favors by like quelling those. Like they've done some really boneheaded things by admitting they lost the original tapes and things like that. That like if I lost
how are you going to lose the tapes to the greatest man's greatest accomplishment? It's like that's the other thing is we lost also the blueprints of the lunar lander. That's kind of weird. But how are you going to imagine like the Egyptians? They had the blueprints of the pyramids. Like, I mean, I guess we did lose those, but you know, I mean, this is like the most important thing since the pyramid.
You know, like if I lost the footage with James O'Keefe of the video I captured, people wouldn't believe me. They'd say, James, that's full of shit. Like they'd say, but video is king, right? I acknowledge they haven't done a great job helping themselves out. But what I would say,
those rockets are going in the air and the Earth's not flat. But I do think like the moon landing is just there's something weird about it. But at the same exact time, like I keep on wanting to doubt Elon, and I'm sure like there's just so many criticisms of Elon. Like maybe he likes he likes chicks too much. Maybe I mean that's not really.
Is that possible?
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying, and that's not really a bad thing. Like I think that's like this main complaint. That
what do they want him to be? A Dallas Cowboys fan?
Exactly, and we're very pro LGBT. So my point is the fact that he is, you know, going to space, and they say the Starlink. I'm about to get Starlink internet because I hear it's so good, and you know I can't blame the guy for wanting to go. I watched one of those rockets go off recently. It looked really badass.
So
the second stage looks really badass too. I did the second stage.
Come out here to Florida. We watch them all the time from our front yard. Yeah. Like we get front row seats. Like it's awesome, dude. It is actually really an incredible sight to witness. And I remember, so we took. I helped James sail his boat down from Canaveral to West Palm after the Mar-a-Lago stuff, and we sailed past the SpaceX rockets and. I had to point it out to him. He's like, I thought we were sailing past a chimney. I'm like, bro, that's a SpaceX rocket. He's like, why is it black? I'm like, because it burned back on reentry. And he's like, I thought it went underground or in the water. And I'm like, no, they reuse them. Like James is like,
he's never watched that video of them getting like landing like that. James, well, like, I can't believe I've never seen that.
Well, he's a busy guy. Like this week, he got credentialed at the Pentagon.
I know he's busy, But Rick, that's one of the most insane videos watching those. I've watched 100 videos of them landing.
Do you know who Dan Gable is?
Is that an astronaut? Is a wrestler?
No, Dan Gable was an Olympic gold champion wrestler. He was
the wrestler.
He didn't won the Olympic championships in the Munich games without giving up a single point. It was historic. He was one of the best wrestlers in history, but he was almost like a Forrest Gump level, like completely like looking through a toilet paper tube of like concentration and focus, no peripheral context, so focused on being the best at what he does. And when he brought him on like the Johnny Carson show or the Tonight Show afterwards, they asked him like, how hard is it to focus with everything going on? He's like, what was going on? They're like, bro, there was a terrorist attack at the games.
Yeah. And he didn't even know.
He didn't even know. And so I said that like James is so focused on doing the badass work that he's doing. Like he got responses from Kelly Loeffler, Small Business this week, the director of NIH, the Pentagon. Like that's a hell of a week for anybody. Like he's crushing it. And so he's like, wait a minute, they land him? And we're like, yeah, they land him on the ocean. He's like, really? So like you got to come and see this shit.
I've watched 100 videos of that though. I mean, James needs to watch a few space videos. I don't know. Maybe, but some people aren't into space. Like some people aren't into space. You know?
No, I know. But what I'm trying to say is it's amazing. It's very compelling. But like when I was there, I mean, I was at Johnson Space Center for a whole bunch of different missions.
Oh, what about astrology? I have to cut you off because we only got a few more minutes. There is something true to astrology. I don't know what it is, but I do think there's some sort of energetic truth to astrology. Did they say anything about that at NASA? Be for real.
That I didn't hear a lot about, but what I'll tell you, like during the astronaut interviews, like they had actual like charts of the moon landing, the actual stuff, like weird,
Where they
like
landed.
like stuff that like is like cool memory, like so. Like I said, this is my. I can lift this up. You can see like that. That's my kid's like playpen, and in my like around it, I have like weird paraffin. Like I've got my NASA stuff just hanging out with like the kids like Tupperware bins, right?
It's
So
cool stuff, yeah.
NASA has stuff like that from the moon landing hanging out in the hallway.
Yeah, but they don't have the tapes. But they don't have the tapes. They got a bunch of fucking merch, but they don't have the fucking tape. That's what. Ah! Okay, real quick. Yeah,
So,
I love it.
But I do find it compelling. My mission member was an engineer on the Lunar Reconnaissance Rover, Reinhold Povilaitis, absolute badass. He's had this telescopes. He's told me he's seen it. He's seen the footsteps. He's seen the flags. And
I've heard that too. I've seen pictures.
I trust my like I have. Yeah. So just my take is I find the people I know and their firsthand knowledge compelling, and that's all I got to ride on. But like I can understand, I can
There are
understand.
some stuff that make you just kind of go, But yeah, I've seen the pictures and stuff, but not like a picture can't be faked or anything. But you know what I mean? I have seen pictures where it looks like it's a boot and it looks like where they walk. But you're also kind of like, I know there's no atmosphere or whatever. It's 1/6 our atmosphere or something, but like, so there's just no wind. Like you're telling me that like a formation on the moon, a boot would just be there 50 years later. Like how
No, my buddy Reinhold, that's exactly what he calculated. So he Reinhold Povilaitis. So actually, it's funny because I got this stuff here. I didn't know we were going to be talking about space stuff, but my kid likes.
Yeah,
this stuff.
I love space. I love space.
So that's him, Reinhold Povilaitis. This is our mission patch from the Hera mission. So Reinhold Povilaitis,
that was the analog mission where you're on Mars, fake Mars, but Mars.
Yeah, at Johnson Space Center, and so he ran the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter to Arizona State. So his job was to collect tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of digital photographs from a satellite circling the moon and reconstruct them digitally. And he has a paper that he published in like Science or Nature, one of the best or top journals in the world, where he did the math because he's a math guy and he's, and he calculates. So like there's still impacts of asteroids and other stuff that still hits the lunar surface. To your question, it's not necessarily
they say micrometeorites hit it all the time.
And so he calculated how long it will be until the footsteps from Armstrong get filled in by other sand and sediment to the turnover.
Yeah.
And that was like 80,000 years or something like that. But the point is like they will do exactly what you're saying, which is like they will essentially disappear and get filled in slowly. But like, so like there is that. It's not a static environment of just nothingness. Like things do change and move. And Reinhold was one of the badasses that calculated that and figured that out. And then he went and he lived with cosmonauts in a Russian capsule for half a year. Like he's a badass.
Well, and that's the other thing too. The NASA space program, yes, they were great, but if we're really going to talk balls and strikes, like the Russian cosmonauts were the real leaders in aviation and space travel. I mean, they put Sputnik up there. They were just dominant, and then they kind of fell off. Why do you think they fell off, just from your fan perspective?
Well, for one thing, during the race to the moon, they had one of their rockets had a giant explosion. And
when they were building it, I remember that.
So that was a huge setback that takes a long time to recover from. Is one thing. I mean, then of course, like the Soviet Union fell in the 90s. That was kind of a setback. And I think that they kind of just like focused on doing what they do well, which is send the Soyuz capsule up and use pencils instead of pens, and we were.
But aren't they still kind of considered very, because I know we have China, we have astronauts from all over, but aren't the cosmonauts still considered just as good as astronauts? If not, you know what I mean? Isn't it 1A and 1B type situation?
I mean, they're fantastic astronauts and cosmonauts.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And they're on the International Space Station together. Like, they don't look at each other. Like, America doesn't look like they're better than the cosmonauts.
Oh, no. I mean, so I had a chance. I got to know Andrei Borisenko a little bit when I was there. I mean, he's a legend. I mean, these, like, at that level, I mean, they're all fantastic. But, I think that their program focused less on, like, developing new technology and new things and doing the old things well and consistently. And we
But let's be real. The Chinese astronauts, are they that smart? I mean, I know they're smart on Earth, but I feel like they get up to space, they would freak out. I don't know if they would handle space as well as, maybe the white Catholic guy. Is that racist? Are there any? Have we had any Latinas in space? Has there been? I don't think there has been any big.
Oh, there have definitely been a few that I think you would take quite a liking
No,
to.
are there really? Oh yeah, because what was that one astronaut too that went crazy? That was a lesbian and then like went and like attacked her or something. I think she might have been Michelle. There was a Hispanic female astronaut, wasn't there? Damn, Rick, you know everything. You're a genius, man. You know everything. Okay, real quick before we end things, how can people find you and support you and the GoFundMe? Shout it out right now, and I want to put a link to it right now. Let me find it.
So the link is in our private chat. I sent that over to you. It's the Give Send Go called "The Truth Is Not for Sale." It's got like a weird website, like letters and numbers thing. But if you go to Give Send Go, it's "The Truth Is Not for Sale." Very, very helpful right now. We've kind of like stalled out a little bit on some fundraising, and our goal was to raise $1 more than what they thought that this conversation was worth hiding. The $96,000 and $1 is what we're looking for, because we think that to the people who are being defrauded, that is all of us, that the truth is worth more than the lies. It helps us a ton. We weren't prepared to be fired because I had an indefinite contract for life, because that's what the tenure is. So it really helps us. It really, really does. It helps in a very serious and substantive way. We're very grateful. It's also in the link in my bio on Twitter, which is @RickAddante. So if you like some spicy Twitter, I try to get on there a little bit. But not as spicy as you by any stretch. But
no, but still
you're like the spiciest.
Now I'm not that. I could be spicier, but you are the wrestling coach spicy. Because a wrestling coach is, if you're a wrestling coach, you don't do it for the money. You do it because it's the hardest sport there is. You know what I mean? And that's because you're obviously dialed in. So you're that kind of tough. You're like a seasoned veteran toughness, but savvy. I'm just crazy and psycho.
Well, if you know wrestlers, we're crazy and psycho too. I mean,
that's true. That is true. Wrestlers are the toughest. Yeah.
We're pretty crazy in that respect, but that's because we don't mind doing what has to be done, and that's why we're here. That's why you do what you do, and we all do. Everybody's doing what they can, and you ask what people could do too. I mean, reach out to the governor, like encourage him to take this money back. Reach out to Harmeet Dillon in Office of Civil Rights. This is sitting on their desk. Reach out to Linda McMahon.
I got a connection with Harmeet.
This has been filed in May 10th and July 9th. And what was awesome about Mar-a-Lago is Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, was there. And I actually got to meet with her and talk with her about it and say, like, hey, you know that video that James showed from the stage? And like, guess who was being defrauded?
You. Yeah, that's funny.
And $69 million. It was an honor to catch you. I'm here. I'm the actual witness, and she was very interested. She definitely looked motivated. As everything.
The only problem. This is Trump's problem. He hires a billionaire. He should have. Maybe it would be better if he had a DEI black lady who thought $69 million was a lot, because Linda McMahon, she pays much. You know what I mean? She's paid Hulk Hogan more than $69 million. Or that's probably she sneezes $69 million.
Yeah, but you know what? What I think the real message here is, like, they've done a great job. Actually, her and Harmeet have worked hand in hand to address like a lot of shenanigans at Northwestern, Harvard, Columbia, and they've shaken down for the right things. And I think that's an important, necessary signal to be sent. But the true impact. So for instance, like none of the students at that school are voting for this administration. So the people who are supporting this administration and making America great again, and probably your listeners and supporters, they're at every Joe University around the country. And so what I encourage them to do is now take those examples that they said at the big Ivies, and we need to get this stuff cleaned out, because what our video showed with James is they're all lying to you. They're lying to comply. They're doing everything they can to keep our money while lying to you about what the democratic process put in place. And that's at everyday Joe University. So $69 million is a lot of money to the rest of us. And I think she understood that. She wanted to get in touch with me. We're going to work together, but like, keep up the pressure, keep up kindly, politely. Let these people know that we can't stand for this, and to take action, take these funds away, or require that these private institutions replace their leadership so that they can't continue laughing behind your back, which they did. If you watch the video, they laughed at you.
They didn't care. They didn't care that they took that money. They feel like they're entitled to it. And you know what's so crazy though? It's like when it comes to learning and college, is that maybe it would be worth all the money that you spend in college if it would teach you how to make some money, but like you really don't even learn anything, and this is the real scam, I think, of college. and I don't know if this is a scam, but they say when I think Harvard is technically the first college, when the real reason that college was invented was these rich people didn't know where to send their kids to meet other rich people. So they just kind of, sent them to college. And before they had a curriculum, they would just be like almost fraternities before it was even like, a curriculum of school. So I guess my point is, college is almost more about the social interaction, meeting a professor, becoming a friend with them, and maybe he helps you with a job or on a resume. You know what I mean?
I sent him to a NASA mission.
Exactly. That's why you go there, to meet that guy that gives you, because
I'm the guy.
The colleges don't really want you to graduate. Like, of course they want you to graduate, but they could make it easier. They could help you out more. But it's sometimes, at least for me, it felt like, man, I'm going against the college to graduate. Like, I got to grind,
Let me tell you this, man. Like, I worked for 25 years in academia. I was on the front lines, deeply embedded in. It is an absolute scam. I still tell people that if they're going, it's like the military. You have to make it work for you, or it's going to work you. So there are ways to make it work for you, but like, you really have to be conscientious and mature about pursuing that. But at the end of the day, they are engaging in such a scam and a travesty on the youth of our country and putting them into debt slavery and everything else. I've watched for a long at UT Dallas. I watched major grade inflation. I was asked to change grades for people that I told them hell no, from other professors and administrators from Cal State to UT
but how
Dallas
much from going to like a B to an A or what?
No, like F's to A's, F's to C's. I've seen it. They had a board of trustees member.
Like, I can see if you maybe go, because let's be real, professor going from like, if he had a B and like it really helps him to get that A, that's not that big a deal, because I feel like that, and that's not great, but like a D to a C is bad, an F to a D is even bad. But I mean, what I mean? Like a C to a B, teachers did that to me all the time. I feel like that's not that crazy.
I have a Substack, Rick Addante at Substack, and I have messages from a faculty member friend of mine on my Substack report of this fraud at Florida Tech, calling for the president, John Nicola, to resign because we caught him lying and covering up about these situations, where he says he had boards of trustees member try to tell him to pass students in computer engineering that was their kids that were failing. And he said,
you got to be kidding. You're telling me that they had the audacity to say my kid has an F in the class and you got to give him an A? I mean, that, or
at least passing, but you still failed. And you got to pretend it's a lie. You're going to have somebody hire someone who think they passed a class and knows what they're doing, and they don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. This is happening everywhere. There's a great inflation everywhere. They're teaching garbage things like critical race theory and DEI. They're teaching all the wrong things, which is why the bridges are falling, the Boeings aren't going, and we are working to take this country back by making it a better place for everybody, by just making sure that we tell the truth, which is who passed and who failed, who needs to do a little bit more. The truth matters, man, and it's a big important thing, but it's not that. It shouldn't be that big a deal. That's how we make things better in this country. Just put people in place who are truly going to be the right people to fix it, whoever they are. But this is stemming from academia. They're building this embryonic womb that they've built that has built the seeds of Antifa, of the people who are aiming their rifles at Charlie, the people who are doing all the things that we've seen tear this country apart and make our countrymen and our neighbors hate each other when we were all getting along perfectly happy with each other. This is happening from academia, from these middle and bottom barrelers, Alex.
Well, I don't know if we are getting along perfectly, but I do think they're using to make us more violent. Like these schools, like you said, it's almost like this embryo breeding violence, or making us feel like violence is the only answer. I do think that is happening.
It's garbage, and we, as writ large in society, have forgotten and given up on that industry of education and academia, and is going to be it's going to be the most important part in getting things back on track for future generations. So, for example, I'm 43 years old. As far as I know, and I've asked this on Twitter, and maybe not enough people see it because nobody really follows me, and they should, at Rick Addante.
You have a lot of followers. Everybody follows Rick.
But check it out. So how many people do you know, Alex, who are serious, accomplished intellectuals or scientists with conservative bona fides that are not just group thinkers from the left, that are under age 45, that are not gray hair? I was the only guy tenured that I can find. And
the fact that you're tenured in your early 40s, I would have thought that was impossible. I mean, because You are really smart though, and you're a
You've
wrestling
got the
guy. So
you've got the
you're a go-getter.
Claremont Institute, Manhattan, Hoover, Cato. They have these sinecures of our intellectual leaders, the Thomas Sowells, great luminaries. But we don't have people who don't have white hair. When I was the one guy who got in there and threw the ring back into Mount Doom. And
well, no, but real quick, because you have two, it kind of reminds me of my buddy Madison Cawthorn. When you're the youngest guy in the room, you're the least liked guy in the room.
But that's my pitch for support to people, is saying, look, we need to support the regrowth and repopulation of backstopping the intellectual side, the science side. Who are we going to have on committees the next pandemic that comes along who has biomedical knowledge? We gave up the ghost, and they ran a train on us during COVID.
Yeah, they did, and they're going to run another one on us again.
And so we need people. And when something like this happens to somebody like me, and it's not supported by the bigger institutional movements, then we deserve what we get, because we're not filling our stable and backfilling our bullpen with what we need in the industries.
Well, Rick, man, we learned a lot tonight. We learned about your trip to Mars. It was a fake trip, kind of like the moon landing. No, I'm kidding. I know you're not saying that because NASA's probably watching this, and the moon landing was real, and everything that you guys tell us is the truth. We love you, NASA. Please give my boy a job so maybe I can get some cool NASA merch. Rick, we got a pinned link to the GoFundMe. Excuse me, give Sin to Go. We don't like GoFundMe. We like Give Sin to Go. And before we go, how else can people support you other than your great Twitter channel and your Give Sin to Go account?
Oh, great question. I mean, you can subscribe to the Substack. You can definitely ask Elon to send me up on a sponsored trip.
Everybody tag rockets. Elon right now. Me and Elon. Rick deserves to go to space. Chat rats, do that tonight. We want to campaign Rick to space. Rick to Mars.
And prayers. I mean, honestly, pray for me, but pray for us. Pray for Alex. Pray for James. Pray for our countries, our families. You know, like, we're in a great period of rebirth and a lot of great stuff going on. Like, we don't have enough narco boats blowing up in the Caribbean. We don't have enough. We need more of that.
So wait, you like that? I do think that is a little scary. You know, I go on a lot of these carnival cruises, and I never go on the official carnival. No, listen, I'm serious. And I don't ever go on the official excursion with Carnival. I'm always doing the excursion with the off-brand stuff. So just my luck, I'm on a damn banana boat, and Tom Homan's going to blow me up, or Pete Hexa's going to blow me up while I'm, just got some sunscreen on my nipples. So I'm not okay with that, and I better not get blown up, because I go to Honduras, and I go to Venezuela, and I go to Haiti. I'll be honest. I'm not Hillary Clinton, but I go to Haiti for reasons I don't want to
don't be taking those banana cruises with the stuff on your nipples with the Dallas Cowboys like that.
Well, they have the cocaine. Dallas, when I'm at the beach, those boats have the cocaine on them, Rick. That's why I'm at those boats. Yeah, I'm on those boats when I'm at the beach. I don't use cocaine, but when I'm there and it's legal, I've sneezed around it before and accidentally. I didn't inhale,
dude,
but accidents have happened.
I used to live down in Grenada, so I was down there for a little while. My wife went to vet school down there. Like, I know that area. There's some dodgy stuff, beautiful area. It's great stuff too. But I want to see a few more of those blown up. I think I think.
Let me and my friends have our boat fun. Okay.
Mark Kelly needs to shut up and start doing his job.
Mark Kelly does need to shut up. I agree with you. Mark Kelly.
I'll tell you. You want a story from NASA, Mark Kelly?
Yeah, please. Yeah,
so I didn't know Mark Kelly. In all full disclosure, I don't know him.
You had no idea he is. He was arguably one of the most famous. Him and what's that other guy? Gosh, I know the guy.
Well, yes, twin brothers, Mark and Scott Kelly. And
yeah.
When I was there, the word on the street was that the only reason that he went to space is because no one could stand him on Earth. And now you know why.
That is kind of true. And then his brother stayed here on Earth. What was it? Mark got to go, and then the other brother had to stay. Is that how it worked?
Well, Scott did, I think, a year in space, and Mark.
So they both did get to go.
They both were astronauts. I got to go. Mark, in seriousness, right? His wife had suffered a horrible gunshot wound. God bless her. And politics aside, but
she did try to take all of our guns, which I don't agree with. But yes, politics.
Yes, so he stopped. I think that kind of stopped his space career in that respect. Take care of the family. I've put a lot of things on hold to take care of my family too. But they were both completely intolerable people, from what I understand of those who know them. And that's why they were sent to space. And I think Scott Kelly got in so much trouble doing some things that he should not have been doing, that he was banished to space for a year and the effects of its radiation, from what I understand.
They said, you got to go up there and stay up there, you freak. Just go up to space. Guys, it's making me mad because I can't find. He's like one of the more modern day astronauts, and he's always the mouthpiece for him. He always talks in modern day stuff, and he's kind of annoying too. It's not Bob something, whatever. I can't even think of it. He's in so many of the space videos, but he's been up to the International Space Station like I think the most. I think he's been. Who's been to the International Space Station? Let me see. Let me ask.
Peggy Whitson, I think, has the record. She's a rock star.
Okay. Who has been on the ISS the most? Top 10. Let's see if it tells us. Peggy Whitson did 2 years. Scott Kelly was number 3 all time. It's not Jeff Williams. Gosh, this is bugging me that I can't. Whatever. It doesn't matter. The astronaut, he's not that cool of an astronaut. You would think that's my last thing we'll get into. Astronauts have to be these badasses, this and that. You think the astronauts would be a little more badass? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, am I crazy? Why are the astronauts not like Neil Armstrong and Buzz? At least they were getting drunk and partying. None of these astronauts ever go and party and have any fun. They're all dorks.
Well, I mean, there was that one chick who famously got in trouble, right? Chasing.
She was cool.
She probably had a little bit of that little spiciness in her with the crowbar and the diaper for whatnot.
She had to go after her ex-lover. Okay, so there's been one spicy astronaut.
So Scott Kelly got in a lot of trouble for certain things that I think sent him up to space. I think he was flying the T-38s up to go see his mistress up in Wisconsin, which is a pretty expensive taxpayer dime to go up to Green Bay for your wide receiver.
Wait, is that really true that he was taking the plane because isn't he allowed to fly it around if it's his plane, or is it because it's not official business? Like, why can't he go fly to another base if there's a chick there?
That's a question for him. I'm trading on rumors right now.
This is all allegedly. Well, I'm saying I don't want the taxpayer. I don't think I should be funding that. But damn, if he's got to fly the plane, don't they have to fly him around? It's like, I mean, if I had a plane, yeah, I mean, I might fly it over if I got some honey dip and next door and wherever. I mean, that sounds kind of baller. He probably took her on some plane rides. You know what I mean? I bet he got a good old time.
It's nice to have a wide receiver up there in Green Bay.
Yeah, but Des Bryant caught that ball for the Dallas Cowboys. Don't you guys ever forget that. We got robbed. All right, everybody, go follow Rick. Go support his Gibson Go. And we learned a lot tonight. Thank you for your honor and your courage. You deserve that award that James gave you. And once again, love you, Rick. I'll talk to you again soon. Everybody go follow Rick. And they're saying they like the Packers. I like the Cowboys. If you guys, peace and good night.